We are in session. We just came from executive session, so thank you for waiting for us. We'd like to, at this point, stand for a moment of silence, please. Adam, I think it's appropriate that you lead us in the pledge this evening, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great call. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see some people in the audience. Great to have you participate in this process. The emergency evacuation procedure: in case of an emergency, would everyone please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building. Please stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any emergency vehicles. Thank you for that. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda. I need a motion, please.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, second.
Lisa?
Lisa? Any comments or questions on this evening's agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 3, Superintendent's update. Dr. Terranova, please.
Thank you, Mr. DeLucia. My first update is a thank you to the Victor Central School District community for the successful capital project vote. Because of the commitment of this community and the leadership of our Board of Education, we're going to have a significant positive impact on our overall space needs. We're going to improve safety and security of our facilities, which also includes additional parking. We're going to take care of repairs in a timely and financially prudent manner, and we're going to stay ahead of the curve in terms of innovation across all of our buildings for educational offerings and programs, including a brand new career and technical education center that was the former bus garage. So I think it's a game changer, and we'll certainly give updates as we move through the process, but a huge thank you to the community and the Board of Education for your leadership around that. Also want to, and I know we're going to get to this in a couple of minutes, but thank our veterans. As you know, Veterans Day was this past Monday, celebrates the service of all of our military veterans who served in the active military. We thank them for their service, and certainly we're going to talk more about that and honor them in a couple minutes. And I also want to give a shout out to our PTSA. They not only are looking for ways to support students, staff, and families, but they're also collaborating with our school district to help try to find more substitutes, which is sorely needed right now. So they're putting out a statement like they did last year to all of the PTA members saying VCS is looking for daily teacher substitutes as well as teacher aide substitutes. Flexible scheduling is available with full day or half day opportunities in all of our buildings. Assignments are typically to cover one class for the entirety of the time, but there may be assignments that provide an opportunity to support a few different classrooms. We are setting a goal, the PTSA and the district, to try to find at least 5 parents from each of our buildings to show an interest in subbing, to really help be a part of the school day and help our subbing situation. So just another example of the leadership of the PTSA, and certainly I would put a plug in for those that haven't joined to think about joining our amazing Victor PTSA. That's my superintendent's update for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Item 4 is our Veteran Appreciation and Recognition this evening. As most of you know, earlier this month, we celebrated Veterans Day, a time for us to pay our respects to those who have served our country. For one day, we stand united in respect for our veterans. The Veterans Day holiday started as a day to reflect upon the heroism of those who died in our country's service and was originally called Armistice Day. It fell on November 11th because that is the anniversary of the signing of the armistice that ended World War I. However, in 1954, the holiday was changed to Veterans Day to account for all veterans in all wars. VCS has many veterans this year. As in years past, our communication department reached out to all staff asking for them to submit their years of service and photos for recognition on social media and here tonight, as you see some of them displayed this evening on the screen. While not all of our VCS veterans chose to participate in this recognition, I believe that those who did represent all our veterans in their commitment to our country. In the words of former President Harry S. Truman, our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices. Please take the next few moments to silently reflect on not only our VCS veterans, but all veterans. Thank you. Nice picture.
He doesn't age. He does not age.
Yeah. Okay. Item 5 is public participation. I forgot to mention the reminder that you should have signed up at the table in the back of the room to speak. No signatures? No one signed up? Okay. Item 5 is complete then. Item 6, acceptance of consent items. We have 6A through O this evening. Entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
So moved by Christopher. Do I hear a second?
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth? Any comments or questions on these items from anyone? Seeing or hearing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 7A, campus news. We have our first person coming on board here. First victim.
Good evening. I want to say Happy Veterans Day and thank you to all of our veterans for serving our country and their sacrifice to help make our country and our community what a great place that it is to be here every day to learn and grow as a community. My name's Rob DeRose, the principal of the Early Childhood School. Many positive updates as usual to share about the recent events at our school. This month, our school partnered with our Girl Scout troops to support Victor Farmington area families for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. Each class at the ECS was encouraged to bring in a specific item that was requested in an effort to make at least 30 Thanksgiving baskets. In total, our students brought in nearly 500 items for the Thanksgiving baskets, which will be distributed by our school district social workers in the coming school days before the Thanksgiving holiday. So the Girl Scouts wanted 30 baskets, but we had enough items to make 50 baskets, which we're really proud of and excited about. In addition to this food collection, each classroom decorated a large turkey feather focused on the theme of gratitude. This feather was added to a large grati-turkey in our main hallway. If you haven't had a chance to walk down Clifford Court, you should do so before you head out today because you'll just bring a smile to your face to see those grati-turkeys. And a big thank you to our infamous kindness ambassador, Mrs. Kim Galina, and our new school social worker, Prima Sahatala, for their hard work on this positive community collaboration project. Yesterday, to celebrate World Kindness Day, our school had a Kindness Rocks assembly. Students gathered to sing our school song, watch a staff skit about the power of kindness, learn about an upcoming school-wide project, and then finish the gathering with a rousing rendition of an original Naomi Foley song called Go for the Gold. This song is many of our students' absolute favorite song of all the songs. And it's a great way for families and children, teachers, and staff to sing about and remember the power of following the golden rule and treating people how we want to be treated. Naomi wrote and recorded this song. She, along with our other incredible music teacher, Miss Megan Deasy, taught all of the students the song so that it could be sung together out loud and proud along with some sign language. Speaking of the upcoming school-wide project connected to our community read, our school is partnering with our PTSA to work on a kindness project. Classes will all read the story A Little Spot of Kindness. Each class has received their own copy of the book, and each student will paint their own little spot of kindness using a rock, which they will take home with them and be encouraged to set in the community to spread kindness to others. So if you keep your eye out in the Victor area this winter and spring, you may stumble upon a spot of kindness along the trail or in your neighborhood, and we hope that it brings you and your family joy. Teachers are hard at work on student progress reports. Families will be able to access their child's report card on December 4th, and teachers are looking forward to connecting with our families during the upcoming parent-teacher conferences. This is a wonderful time for our teachers to continue to partner with our families as we strive for a successful and positive school year for every student here at the ECS. Wishing everyone here a happy and safe and wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Heidi Robb, the principal at the primary school. Thank you to all of our veterans in this room right now. Adam, thank you. And to all the veterans at Victor Schools. As I've shared in previous meetings, one of the goals that we have at the primary school this year is to build a strong sense of community. We had 2 events in October to do just that. One of them was bringing back the Halloween parade that existed at the primary school prior to COVID, and this was the first year that the entire school participated in the Halloween parade again. And we were able to do that on the bus loop and watch each other march by, and our Victor Intermediate students were able to watch the parade as well. And if you could have seen it, I don't know that you've ever seen so many Josh Allens or Taylor Swifts in one location, but it was pretty exciting. In addition, in October, Mrs. Byrne and I did read alouds with each of the classes. Our focus for that read aloud was caring for others. So we reviewed our school-wide expectations and what that looks like and sounds like to care for others. And then we read a book to students, a fan favorite of Room on the Broom. And there's a character in that book that's a witch who shows kindness in so many ways. And the students were able to share with each other in their buddy class how the witch showed kindness to others. And then we left that time together where they shared a goal and made one goal for themselves about something they could do even better to show care for others at the school. Lastly, on an academic note, our teams at the primary school met at the end of October for our first data days to determine students that would be receiving or continuing academic intervention services. We were able to celebrate many students exiting AIS in reading and math. In all, we exited 28 students from ELA AIS and 22 students from Math AIS at the primary school. The conversations we had about those students were thoughtful, and it was so wonderful to celebrate their success. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving.
Good evening, everyone. Pleased to share an update on the exciting things happening at Victor Intermediate School this month. Our students have been focusing this month on the character trait of gratitude as a part of our monthly character education program. To highlight this, our 6th grade student council members created a video that models how we can show gratitude in the various areas of the intermediate school, whether it's in the cafeteria, the library, or just all around the school in the nurse's office. They really did a nice job of showcasing what gratitude looks like and sounds like for everyone. And we were able to watch that at our grade level assemblies and ask students what they noticed about things happening in the video. So it was a really great way for students to reflect on how they can show appreciation in their everyday interactions with everyone at VIS. In honor of Veterans Day, we also had a very special celebration on Friday, November 8th. We invited veterans with personal connections to our students into the school to share their experiences and stories about their time serving in the armed forces. It was a great moving event for both students and staff, and we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to those who really spent a lot of time organizing this event. So special thank you to Alex Kuschel, Natalie Sonneville, and our PTSA for helping organizing this really meaningful day for everyone. Lastly, we are really excited to welcome a new member to our VIS family, our new therapy dog, Hank. Starting this week, Hank will be visiting our school about once a week, and classes will have the opportunity to sign up to have him come into their rooms. We're thrilled to have him join us as a part of our commitment to supporting the social and emotional well-being of our students. Thank you all for your continued support and partnership in making these great experiences possible for our students. And I'd like to echo what everyone else said about thank you to our veterans, and hope everyone has a good holiday over the upcoming weeks.
Good evening. My name is Brian Geeb. I'm the principal of the junior high school. So we've got a few highlights coming up. First, as we talk about one of our goals, which is helping our students stay connected to their school community. We've got 3 opportunities coming up this month in November and into December. We really highlight that. The first is that we're going to have our musicians play for our faculty in our December holiday faculty meeting. Something new this year, but the idea is to get kids to be able to play in front of their teachers and kind of, outside of the traditional concert schedule. And our music department took that a step further to create small combos within each of their areas to be able to kind of travel, so that the days leading up to the holiday break will have hallway music. Teachers will be able to sign up to have the combos come and visit their class to be able to perform, as a way to start having our students performing for their friends as well. So we're very excited about that coming up this next month. And we're also well into our planning for food drives to help support the district initiative and efforts around that, as we look to support our families in our communities that need help around the holidays. As far as looking at increased opportunities for engagement, our building council last year really looked at how do we help maximize the amount of time we have with kids in our building, meaning study halls. And so one of the ideas was to create our internship program. I've talked about that before. That's up and running. We have 35 students right now participating in a variety of different internships. We've also been able to expand our enrichment offerings. And in particular, we have 2 that are going to start this spring that we were not able to run in the fall. One will be a coding-based, tech-based program with John Hanna. And then Nicole Sedlock, a new math teacher to our building this year, came to me with an idea about having a financial literacy enrichment, really tailored and built specifically for middle-level students. So we met the other day, and we're very excited that we'll be having both of those as opportunities to continue to engage our kids in different types of learning experiences. And we also ran our mock trial every 4 years. When we have a large election, we do that. And it was tied to students learning about the electoral college, but also the importance of participating. It was an optional election. It was done digitally. We had over 470 students participate out of 608 potential students. So our participation rate was extremely high, and we truly celebrated that. And then lastly, I'd like to echo what Heidi said. We did also have our data days recently, and we've seen a great deal of improvement even within that first 10 weeks of school, even a little bit less than that, of students making great progress. And that really goes back to the support that our teachers are able to provide, particularly in some of our AIS and really specialized support programs. So we're seeing a lot of growth out of our kids through a lot of hard work from people supporting them. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Siesso. I'm principal at Victor Senior High School. I have a few updates to share with you this month. Every year during the November board update, I give an update around how many of our seniors are applying for early action decisions at their colleges. This year, we have over 60% of our seniors who have applied for early action. Tomorrow is the deadline for early decision. This is a pretty big number. 2 years ago, we were at 30% of the senior class who did this. Last year, it was 38%. This year, it went up by over 20%, 60%. This number has been obviously increasing over the last few years, but I wanted to bring it up to highlight how many strong students we have who want to decide early what they're going to be doing once they graduate from Victor. It is also a very direct connection to the strong college summer camp that we have, where seniors are coming into the school year in September with their Naviance applications set up and their college essays written. And I want to give a special thanks to Aaron Jacobs and English teachers Deb McManus, Matt Main, and Emily Palicelli, who helped lead the summer college camp. Erin is also doing some college workshops 3 days a week where she works with small groups of seniors on their individual applications, and kids are signing up like crazy to do this. So it really is starting off the year very strong for our senior class, and it's good to see. I also want to give a couple of congratulations this month. One is to one of our teachers in the high school, Christy Rosinski, who is an ENL teacher. She is being presented tomorrow night at the Hyatt Regency with the 2024 New York State ENL High School Teacher of the Year Award through the Teachers College of Columbia University. She was nominated by Keenan Cardona, who is an ENL teacher here at the ECS. It's a great tribute to Christy and the work that she's done during her career across the campus, working with students who are speakers of languages other than English. So I want to congratulate Christy. Also want to give an update on Brody Stewart. Brody was recognized, I believe, last month at the board meeting. He participated in the National Civics Bee Championship last weekend in Washington, D.C. He wrote a really nice updated email to Dr. Terranova. It was a 2-day event where they visited the World War II Memorial in the morning, and then in the afternoon he participated in the first round of the championship, which is a group activity where they were scored on how well they cooperated and addressed a problem. And then on day 2, it was an individual multiple choice question session that had to do with civics. And he was very grateful for the opportunity and the support from our community and the Board of Education and Dr. Terranova. So I wanted to make sure that I gave an update about Brody. And I also wanted to give an update. One of our goals this year is concentrating on our students and our work-based learning program. Just a quick update that we right now have over 70 individual students who are participating in our work-based learning program, either through job shadows, off-campus or on-campus internships, work study and career exploration programs. And we also have full classes that are doing job shadows with accounting or finance firms. So we are actually well over 100 students who are somehow participating in this program. So I want to thank Sue Utz, Carrie Goodell, and Karen Finter for really helping to guide and shape this program. It's been a huge success. And I also want to give a heartfelt thanks to all of our veterans. Our social studies classes this week spent some time talking about the importance of Veterans Day, and in many of the classes it coincides with the curriculum around the World Wars, especially World War I. This is the time of year where they cover some of that material in the U.S. history classes. So it was a good merging of talking about the importance of that day from a historical but also a national standpoint. So that's our update this month. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, there you have the November edition of Campus News. Stay tuned for the December edition where maybe snow day projections might be talked about. We'll see. Okay, 7B, Equity Audit. Dr. Terranova, please.
So good evening, everybody. I'm just going to see if this is on. Awesome. Nice job, Ms. Stahl. Anyhow, I'm here to discuss the equity audit, and I want to first talk a little bit about why we're doing this, where it came from. Then I want to discuss a little bit about what we've done so far, and then the steps we're going to take in the next few months to complete it, and then next steps around what to do with what we find out from this audit. So everything flows from our 5-year strategic plan. From that 5-year strategic plan, it led to this past year's 23-24 management plan, which led to the development of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee that ultimately worked actually over a year to a year and a half on recommendations from that committee. And one of the major recommendations was to complete an equity audit to really review what it really says, an audit of our equity across the district, both holistically and as far as our subgroups, especially our marginalized subgroups. The one thing I will say about this is probably the most important equity equalizer that we have in this district is our teachers and the classroom instruction that's going on. And so you heard some of the comments from our principals around some of the things going on in our classrooms. You're going to see an amazing group of teachers get up here in a few minutes as soon as I stop talking to discuss what a culturally responsive, student-centered classroom really looks like and take out the buzzwords. What does it actually look like in terms of an everyday classroom? Those are the types of things that are going to make the biggest difference to get all kids, to lift all kids to the highest level. And when you combine that type of instruction that's permeating throughout all our buildings with this real focus, especially as kids get into the secondary level of having real-world learning experiences, like you heard with the internship opportunities at the high school, where they can immerse themselves in skills, but in real-life experiences and jobs they may or may not end up in. That's what we really are striving for. So that's one major piece of what we do, but we're also looking at our overall equity and what does that mean. So the goal is to use data to inform how VCSD nurtures a welcoming, safe, and inclusive community, specifically seeking to understand how much our students feel like they belong here, what's our academic performance across all subgroups, and what's our kids' access to supports and extracurricular opportunities and academics and all the different things that we offer at Victor Central School District. We've consulted out with the University of Rochester, who's doing a lot of the legwork. Dr. Kawaku O'Connor, as well as Dr. McHugh, they're leading the effort. And we've just started this process. So I just wanted to give the board an update where we are. We started in this over the summer with these three questions, looking at equitable access to academic opportunities, equitable access to the performing arts, and then starting to take a look at our welcoming and safe and inclusive community and do kids belong or not. So we've just started this. So some of the things the University of Rochester has already analyzed is some data around dual enrollment participation for kids taking dual enrollment classes that count for college credit. Certainly our grade 9 credit accrual at the end of 9th grade, where do our kids stand? Because if we get them at course level and getting all the credits that they're supposed to have, they have a much better chance of graduating on time. And graduation rates. We've really only looked at the first two bullets so far. We haven't even gotten to the graduation rates. Or as you saw the previous slide, we're still analyzing the AP results. We looked specifically at musical ensemble participation, and we took a deep dive into panorama student surveys. Those are surveys that are already given to kids, and trying to piece through that data to see if it can get to a sense of student belonging or not. What did we find? I'm not going to read these word for word, but in 3 areas, this is an initial preliminary findings again, by just looking at a small amount of the data that we can look at. In terms of 9th grade credit accruals, overall it was very positive with lots of different groups, especially marginalized groups, that are being very successful in their credits at the end of 9th grade. We do have some discrepancy for students with disabilities, as well as from students from families who are economically challenged. So that's some data points that we want to look at further. In terms of kids taking dual enrollment courses, again, we haven't actually got to the AP data yet, so it's really specific to dual enrollment courses. And they're also very similar across our subgroups in terms of performance, with some discrepancy for students with disabilities and our males. In other words, our female students are taking more advantage of dual enrollment classes currently than our male students. And then in terms of musical ensembles, there was a very similar data in terms of participation, and that goes from grades 2 through 12, because we started 2 and 3, especially with the Suzuki Strings program. So anyhow, in terms of participation in music, it was pretty equal across the different subgroups, although there is a major discrepancy, again, between males and females, which females having a much greater participation in our musical ensembles than males. I want to show you just a little bit of the data that U of R presented to us tied to that last piece around music. So the guiding questions were who participates in musical ensembles and our differences in participation rates. 1,394 students participate in musical ensembles. That's roughly 40 to 45% of kids in 2nd through 12th grade. So that's a pretty big percentage. And 21% of those kids participate in more than 2 musical ensembles. These are some of the charts. I'll just quickly go over. I'm not going to go over every data set, but the first column, number of students in musical ensembles. So there's 886 female students in musical ensembles. The percent of students in musical ensembles that are female are 63.6% as opposed to 36.3% of males. The percent of students in terms of overall Victor Central School District male and female ratio is roughly 50 to 49%. So based upon the percent of students broken up between male and female, you'd expect more of a 50-50 breakdown in students participating in musical ensembles. That's not the case. There's significantly more female students than male students. And the percentage of female students, so the percentage of the 886 female students that actually are in a musical ensemble is 43%. That's the last column. So that's the percentage of kids from that subgroup that participate in what we're looking at. And so we have multiple charts that show information like this. This is just one example. This is another example in terms of music participation. And you'll see this is actually pretty similar in terms of, so if you look at Hispanic or Latino, 88 students are in musical ensembles that are Hispanic or Latino. The percent of students in the entire musical ensemble that are Hispanic or Latino is 6.3%, and 8% of our total student body is Hispanic or Latino. So the 6.3 is relatively close to the 8%, which isn't a bad thing. And that means that last column means 27% of the 88 kids are participating in a musical ensemble. Would we want more? Of course. But this is just straight data that we found through this study. In terms of a welcoming and safe community, we really combed, the University of Rochester, along with Karen Finter and her leadership, combed through the survey data that we currently give to students. This is through the Panorama program, and it's actually been a huge resource for us to really try to get a sense of the social emotional well-being of kids. So you'll see questions that were really asked, like, how often do teachers encourage you to learn about people from different races? These are just examples. How often do you think about what someone from a race, ethnicity, or cultural experience? How confident are you that students in your school can have honest conversations with each other? We have information about that. We also have social emotional data, social emotional learning data from the Panorama program, and this really gets into those things like self-management, social awareness, self-awareness, grit, as they said, emotional regulation, decision-making. We have data on that. What we don't have yet is data on whether individual kids, as well as groups of students, feel how much they feel like they belong in the Victor Central School District culture. How are they feeling about their own differences and things that are similar to other students? Do they see similarities as strengths? Do they see differences as strengths instead of weaknesses? Those types of information we couldn't find in this Panorama data, but we did find some. So this really summarizes what we need to do next in terms of that last question around, do kids feel like they belong at Victor Central School District? We certainly have data that can build on those types of feelings of belonging, but we need to see what these building blocks have done for students' sense of belonging through digging further into some of the current survey data, as well as administering further surveys and potential focus groups. So we're right at the initial stages of this equity audit. In terms of next steps, if you look at the bold, I'm not going to read all of them though, but if you go back to those 3 questions, how do we ensure equitable access to academic opportunities? And when we use the word opportunities, it's not just opportunities, but performance. How are our kids performing academically, and how many opportunities do they have? We have a lot of work to study there in terms of academic support services, the AP data, Regents results, 3 through 8 state results. We also want to really dig deeper into equitable access to extracurricular opportunities beyond music. You can see some of those there. And then certainly, how do we ensure that welcoming, safe, and inclusive community? How are our kids feeling in terms of belonging here? We got to look through existing data, but we are going to, through the University of Rochester support, really administer some more surveys to our students, potentially also our community, as well as have some focus groups of kids across the district to really get their input. So in terms of a timeline, we're currently gathering and analyzing additional quantitative data, and then in December and January, we're going to be provided instruments to really revise and frame the way we want them as a district in terms of surveys and focus groups. That'll be shared with staff. We're going to use the shared decision-making groups across buildings to help with those survey development. Certainly the Board of Education will see it. And then we would like to administer those surveys and focus groups and continue the analysis of further data February and March, ultimately leading to a presentation of findings. And all that is this is who we are as a district in terms of the questions we're asking. Then the hard work begins, which is celebrating where our successes are, and then looking at where areas we can improve and focusing on that and strategizing that through our shared decision-making teams and our future management plans for the next couple of years. So that's just a kind of a sense of where we are with the equity audit and the timeline. Are there any questions from the Board of Education?
Questions, anyone?
Dr. Ternova, on when you did the breakdown, male, female, non-binary, as far as participation, you gave the numbers. I'm just curious, what is the breakdown of our entire student population, 2nd through 12? Or if you could get that to us.
In terms of...
So what's the percentage, if you did that chart?
Oh, okay.
Just total population of students in grades 2 through 12.
Yeah, I can get you that information.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, and to the board, there is further charts like this and data. So as I give my weekly update to you, if you would like more of that information, I can easily access it to that so you could see further specific information to have. So I can definitely provide that to the board.
Yeah, looks like a bunch of people are nodding, so yeah. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a management plan update, culturally responsive student-centered teaching by a number of talented people, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
They're so far away.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Karen Finter, and I am the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction here in Victor. And it is my pleasure tonight to have some wonderful educators to share really with you what does a student-centered, culturally responsive classroom really look like, right? That is language we've been using now for the last few years through the work of not only our DEI plan, but some of our annual management plan goals, and what does that really mean? So I'm going to provide a really brief little overview, and then they're going to show you how it really looks within their classrooms. So, you know, just like the equity audit, this work roots within our strategic plan and part of our management plan work. And this year in particular, really supporting this type of instruction in classrooms, knowing that it's not just about a group of students, but really it's about all students. How do we move the learning and achievement for all students and really support student access and student achievement by doing some things very intentionally and very focused so that all students can grow. So our use of assessment data, our use of our PLCs to form goals, to really dive in, all anchors back to this work. This hasn't come out of nowhere, right? New York State had a hand in it as well. As you know and may remember, back in 2018, New York State released a culturally responsive and sustaining education framework. In it, it talks about 4 principles, really, that support this work, and it defines what student-centered learning environments really are. We want to make sure that we're affirming cultural identities, foster positive academic outcomes, develop students' abilities to connect across lines of difference, elevate historically marginalized voices, empower students as agents of social change, and contribute to individual student engagement, learning, growth, and achievement through the cultivation of critical thinking. That's what we want for all of our students. And so the framework really outlines various ways to do that. Here in our district, we took that document, we took what we know to be best practice in teaching and learning, and working with teachers and through professional development and the very talented administrators across the district, we put together what those look-fors within a student-centered, culturally responsive classroom would be. And these 4 look-throughs, the groups, what does a student-centered classroom look like and sound like? What does evidence of student thinking really look like so that students are independently able to demonstrate their understanding? What does productive struggle or grappling with their learning independently look like? And certainly, what does that classroom environment, a warm and welcoming environment, really do to help support all of those things? So tonight, you're going to hear from very talented teachers across the district of how these 4 components of a culturally responsive, student-centered classroom come to life in their practice. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mrs. Stephanie Bach.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Stephanie Bach. I teach kindergarten here at the ECS. And what you're looking at here is me focusing in on that element of student-centered classrooms. And in the top right, you see a visual representation of what I show to my students every day for our ELA centers. And in my eyes, this is a prime example of our day that's student-centered. It's a 60-minute block every single day, and it starts off with about 5 to 10 minutes of direct instruction. So that's just enough time for me to launch a new skill and then give them directions for what they're about to do. And then we launch into that visual, and that's how they know what their job is during that rest of the 60-minute window of time. So the colored blocks you see represent differentiated student groups. So at all times, I'm meeting with a small group for that guided instruction. And then we have an ENL teacher or a reading teacher or an aide who's also pulling groups to work with them. And then the rest of the students are rotating between those may-dos, which are independent choices that are all aligned to our learning target for the day. And they can do all of the choices in one day, or they can do just 1 or 2. So that choice gives them flexibility in what they're doing, but also how much time they're spending with certain tasks so that they're highly engaged the whole time and that they're really taking ownership of their learning. It allows for that autonomy, that confidence building, and even though they're our youngest learners at 4 to 6 years old, they're really independent and engaged the entire time. All right.
Hi there, I'm Hannah Morris and I teach English at the junior high. I'm also going to focus on the concept of a student-centered classroom, but I can offer an example of what it could look like more at the secondary level. So at the end of 7th grade, we have the students complete a research unit, and having almost an entire year to really build an understanding of themselves as readers and writers, we find that at this point they are very prepared to be in the driver's seat and just drive the learning throughout the entire unit. So all of our students are working on the same standards. They're all seeking to learn how to identify some credible information and then produce a demonstration of their learning, but they're able to make some choices throughout the entire process. So the pathways that they take are very self-directed. Each student initially chooses their pathway for the research process, and it's really based on their level of confidence with their research skills. So the first pathway is the most guided. Students who choose this one may feel as though they'd really appreciate more teaching in the research process. The second pathway is ideal for students who are ready for like a balance of some teaching and some independence. And our last pathway is for those who feel very confident in their research skills and can do it mainly on their own. And every year I'm always really impressed with the number of students who report that they are ready for a challenge and they can do it solo. Next, they choose the topic that they're going to look into. And then lastly, they're able to choose the products they create. So the goal for all learners is to create a demonstration of what they've learned through the research process and have that on display in a research expo. The students are encouraged to create something that resonates with them. So some examples, one student generated his own website. He included some videos about his topic as well as 2 pieces of original writing. Whereas a different student decided to do a digital illustration and create a graphic novel in which the character's dialogue is weaving in facts that she found in her research. So what I really appreciate about this project is that as a teacher, I'm able to assess what they've learned, but I'm also able to just understand them better as people. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen Hall, and I'm lucky to be a 5th grade teacher at the intermediate building. I'm going to talk to you about one of the units that we teach and just how we've been able to tie it all together and give the kids some choice and time at the end to reflect on all their learning, so that self-reflection piece, and also to show the thinking that they did throughout the unit. So one of our newer humanities units is Ancient Civilizations, specifically in the Western Hemisphere. And through the unit, we explore and dig deep into the different ancient or the indigenous peoples that came to the Western Hemisphere where they decided to settle, how they interacted with the environment, how they had to adapt to the environment. And then we also, these are some of the learning targets that we go at, trying to focus on how complex societies develop very similarly, but they also have some unique differences within them. So the kids also focus in on the geography of the Western Hemisphere and how it does affect them. It's a lot, we focus specifically on the Aztec, the Inca, and the Maya, and how their civilizations developed. So some of the things that they focus in on is how all of those civilizations have specific jobs, specific culture, celebrations, things like that. They all have a government of some kind. They all have writing systems or language systems, and they all have technology. So they see that those are all the same throughout, but then each of those civilizations contributes something uniquely to the area. At the end of the unit, we have a project, which is one of my favorite projects. The kids love it because the creativity comes in and they get to bring in who they are as a person. So I really do enjoy this. It's called the Land of Imagination Project. I have an example up here. This is Chloeville. So the kids have to create their own complex society. On the right side, you can see, I don't know if you can see it that well, but they get to think about, they pick a theme. So Chloeville, she picked hers, it's all things Chloe. Some kids have Swiftyville. We have, Josh Allentown. I mean, the kids really get to bring in, and I even have a student this year that's doing a Jehovah's Witness city. So really going to teach the rest of the class about his religion. So I'm excited about where that's going. But if you look at it, the jobs, there's keyboard engineers, pineapple upside down cake bakers, soccer players, s'mores toasters. So you get to learn who they are, but they also are showcasing the knowledge that they learned, that student thinking that they did throughout the unit. So it allows them, to show their new skills, transfer the knowledge, reflect, and do that critical thinking. So, and then at the end, they create a map to show where all the different physical features are and how their society adapted to their environment. So it's a pretty cool project. Sorry if I talk too long. I like to do that.
I just want to make a comment that I've been known to be a s'morier on many occasions during the summer. I can identify.
I do too. Amazing. My name is Emily Policelli. I teach English 9 at the senior high school. It's fantastic. And we've been really proud of ourselves for the past couple of years because we had recently integrated a new book into our curriculum in English 9 that we specifically chose to be more culturally responsive and to respond to some needs and gaps that we were noticing in our students. So to give them some sort of background knowledge, we were noticing that it was hard for them to have these conversations about culture as it pertains to the characters in the book, which is very important to the unit, when they didn't really have an understanding of what culture meant to themselves. So we have been working very closely with Cody Miller from SUNY Brockport, who's been an incredible resource to us, and he'd noticed that when he taught the book in the past, that was also a gap of his students. So he brought this resource to us, which are the intersecting identities maps. This is kind of the stuff that you would write down, check boxes at the DMV. It's all the stuff that's more observable about you. It's the part of your culture that informs how the world interacts with you. And for a lot of our students, and I'll name particularly a lot of our white students, a lot of them had claimed that they didn't know they had a culture. And so we took this opportunity to look at all these different things that come together and make who you are up. For some of these students, they looked at some of these little bubbles and they had no idea what to put. They'd never thought about it before. And so it kind of invited them into that self-exploration and self-reflection. But some students, they knew exactly who they are. They know exactly what these words mean. They know exactly what to write down. And so we were able to kind of meet the students where they are and bring them all to these common understandings that we could then move forward in the unit with. But of course, the observable things about you are not the only part of your culture, and we wanted to make sure that they knew that. So we added to this year a values conversation. So rather than just the things that make the world interact with you in a certain way, the things that make you interact with the world in a certain way, and we thought that that was really interesting. So what we did was we found a very simple article just on Google, and we had it posted for them to look at. It had all these different common values, all these different definitions, and so some students chose what they believed were most important to them. But we asked them, okay, you identify that this is important to you, how does it show up for you? And so for some students, they were a little bit more unique. For example, up front and center, frugality. That was the only one that we'd had this year that identified that one, and he was very self-reflective, and he said, well, I'm very conservative with my money because I have to work for all of it, and this is a 14-year-old student. Authenticity, the girl on the bottom left, you can definitely see it in her day-to-day life, how she dresses, how she acts, it's lovely. But for the more common ones, it was also interesting because you see 3 students chose dependability, and every single one of them said something different. So for all of their values, this opened up a conversation of, okay, you can be an individual, and we can celebrate that difference, but even if we all say that we value the same thing, that can be completely different for all of us, and that is something to celebrate, and it's not something that should divide us. It's something that we all have in common, and it's fantastic. So that's been really helpful, not only in terms of our conversations about cultural responsive culture and all that stuff, but also in understanding where characters are coming from, developing empathy. It's made a world of difference.
Hi, I am Alex Kuschel. I teach 4th grade humanities at VIS, and I'm going to share an example from my classroom that illuminates productive struggle. Last spring, my class was studying the American Revolution, and the students at the beginning of the unit, I taught them how to create their own research questions. So we also talked about how important it is for researchers to choose a topic that they're really interested in. And their research question needed to guide them through this entire integrated unit. We were doing reading, writing, social studies, speaking, and listening. They also knew that at the end, they were going to be creating an article that they would contribute to a class magazine that we were going to publish for each student. And then finally, in the picture you can see, each partnership was responsible for creating an exhibit within our American Revolution Museum that was open to other 4th grade classrooms, to families, to community members. And the component of productive struggle that was really evident to me throughout this was students were so motivated to read resources that were at a 5th grade reading level and higher. A lot of the resources that I had available to me are made for middle schoolers, and it didn't matter. They were ready to tackle it. They worked through that with their partners. You rarely see a group of 9-year-olds working independently on reading and writing for 80 minutes. So it's really evident to me how much this meant to them and how engaged they were. And then at the end, when they were in charge of creating their museum, we had an opportunity to hear virtually from a museum designer in Massachusetts. So again, providing that authentic product really motivated the students to work independently and collaboratively to create these different museums, to consider how they were going to incorporate their written elements and combine it with the visual. And they actually even decided how to set up the room. And you can see from their faces how proud they were of all the work that they had put in.
Hello, my name is Quentin Peacock, and I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher. Before I begin, can you show me on your fingers 1 doing really good, or 5 being really good, 1 being not so good? How are you feeling today? Okay, that's good. So if you can imagine, I do this every single day, every single class with my middle schoolers. Middle school is really an anxious time. It's really a turbulent time for kids as they're starting to transition from more of a elementary level to a secondary level. So this is a 6-question survey that's done via Google form that I do every single class. They know it's part of the daily routine. It takes around 10 minutes and it's 10 questions. In this, students are allowed to reflect on emotional and physical well-being in the classroom and outside the classroom, but it's also a way for them to share and really bring back that affirming environment that they need, especially in a middle school level. It is also a great tool for me because it's a digital copy, so I am able to really allow for excellent student rapport with my students, so I know what they're doing inside and outside the classroom. So some of these, like I said, it's 6 questions. I ask their name, their class, how they're doing today, what they're doing this weekend, as well as how they're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, usually with a pumpkin infographic or some other fun picture. And this allows students to take risk, and it allows me to see certain data. So if I notice that for a period of time that one student is coming in and they are feeling terrible after a specific class, I know that that is consistent and I can follow up with them later on. It also allows students to kind of allow themselves to look into others' identities and cultures. So kind of as an example for that, I had one student today say that she is going to start getting ready to celebrate Diwali. And I had her share with the class, if she felt comfortable to, what Diwali is and what it means to her. And she was more than welcome to. But again, that's something that some of my students have never heard of. So it's really fascinating to see kids allow themselves to open up and create a warm and welcoming environment in the classroom. So some of these examples are anything fun planned for this weekend, just some simple stuff, but again, I might get some very interesting things like going to Allstate, then going to Tom Walls afterwards. But then also I do polls, and polls I think are the most important thing. These can be formative assessments, so who won the French and Indian War, allowing me to know access of what materials we should reteach, but then also it can be something that's kind of a little goofy to connect with them. And it allows students, especially in a social studies setting, to really practice those speaking and listening skills so they can go out into the community and be even better citizens. So they are listening to one another, they are speaking kindly and respectfully to one another, and they are really creating this safe space within the classroom so that way they can go into the real world and feel that way. And I think, bring it back to Karen.
Yeah. Thanks, Gwen. So, I hope tonight you've gotten a taste of these components of a culturally responsive, student-centered instructional model here in Victor. We're going to continue to chip away and continue this work. We're revising curriculum. You have in a packet in front of you a copy of the Look For's document, a snippet out of one of our 3rd grade integrated humanities units, the standards that are represented within that unit, the big ideas, and some of the student work products from very early within that unit. So you can get a sense of the depth of that work from Emily's students at the senior high all the way to our 3rd graders. We're going to continue to engage in professional development and leveraging our faculty department grade level meetings and programs like new educator orientation and induction to continue to build this foundation of instructional practice and strong understanding. Our collaborative planning processes through PLCs align to those data-driven goals, really digging in to some of that data, even the equity audit data that Dr. Terranova mentioned, and certainly through our walkthroughs, our supervision, and our observation process in supporting teachers in that collaborative way with our amazing administrative team and our amazing teachers putting heads together and really having deep conversations about teaching and learning in the student experience. So with all of that, we thank you. Any questions?
Questions, anyone?
No question, just a comment to say thank you to all of you for being here tonight and sharing these examples. They're very powerful for us to see. And also to just remark and thank Principal Gee, who also gave us a copy of the look-fors when we were in our building visit at the junior high. So it was really nice for us to have that opportunity to see what is being worked on by the teachers in the classroom and then to observe that ourselves in many of the classrooms. So thank all of you.
Okay, great, thanks. Initially, you were aligned by height, but not anymore.
Obviously gratitude too, and the one thing, and the last piece, I really think it's empowering too for the faculty, which we have the amazing faculty and staff, that getting into how they are, because we talk about social, emotional, and mental health, and really empowering you or putting you in positions to communicate with their school counselors and building admin to really support the students, because you do deep dives into what they're doing every day. I guess my question for all of you is, 1 being not excited, 5 being really excited. Show your hands about being at a board meeting on a Thursday night. There you go. Okay. Thank you for all the work you do every day.
That's pretty Sigma.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool.
All right, thank you. Thank you, one and all. Yeah, that was great. Okay, we are at 7D, approve the following trips. We have boys varsity lacrosse to Latham, New York, 4/18 to 4/19, 2025, to participate in the spring non-league games. And students in grades 9 through 12 to Spain and Portugal from 6:30 to 7:10 of 2025. So a motion to approve these trips, please.
So
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, I heard.
Yes.
Second by Christopher.
Yes.
Any comments or questions about these trips?
Can't wait to see the pictures.
Yeah, pictures.
I'll go to Spain and Portugal.
All right.
I do have a question.
Okay, question?
In the past too, then there'll be a presentation from those trips, usually when they're overseas, at some of the board meetings.
They did that last year for the French club.
If that's
trip,
possible.
yeah.
I don't want to
Yes.
add work for anybody, but if they do, those are amazing when the students are able to present.
The trip to France, the pictures were outstanding.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, meeting reports. Monroe County School Board Association committee reports. I have to say that because I was Grandpa Uber in New York City for a few weeks, I haven't attended any, so I don't have any reports.
The one that I typically attend monthly via Zoom has not happened yet, so I can give an update in December.
Okay.
I did we had our IPAC meeting yesterday, which is a standing committee, I guess. And they, our 2 inquiry teachers or exploration teachers are just amazing. And the pull-out programs that they're doing with students in 1st through 6th are, it's just amazing to see what, 2nd graders are doing, and 3rd graders, they kind of, 3rd graders were developing a whole survey and implementing it and, going through the whole process. There's just amazing stuff that they're doing. The kids are using Canva, and then they go back and they're just like, as they're talking to their friends, they're kind of explaining to them how to use it. So it's wonderful to see that, it's spreading across the classroom, that turnkey kind of education. And in intermediate, they're you're doing amazing things like the stock market game and, ancient math and word wizards and stuff. So there's just a lot of exciting education going on. And they can, because they're smaller classrooms, they can really move quickly and evolve, and you do kind of try different teaching aspects. So it's really an exciting thing, and it is something that not every school district has. So we are very lucky at Victor, and we really need to support them. I would love to see them grow and have more teachers. But that was a wonderful check-in point there. And then in October, Elizabeth and I went to the New York State School Board Association conference in New York City, and that was just 2 days full of different sessions from different presenters. At times I wish I could have been at 3 of them at the same time. It's like there was just a wealth of information. Things to look forward to. Some of the hot topics were like the foundation aid formula. That some sort of report should be coming out December 1st about where the foundation aid formula is, and that the talk is that there won't be a specific new formula, but there will be some more guidelines and reporting on that. There was a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and how we need to incorporate it in education, but not lose the human aspect. Let AI take over things so that you have more time to do the human aspect of teaching. There were some sessions on dealing with student behavior and how to address issues, even employee issues and things like that. There was a nice panel with the commissioner, Dr. Rosa, and she was very insightful on lots of different topics, just kind of went from topic to topic. And some of the big ones are equity across the state. Some districts have X, Y, and Z, and some districts only have X. It's like instead of taking away the positive programs, it's how do we ensure the positive programs and grow them in other districts. So there's there seemed to be a lot of thoughtful listening tours kind of going around where they're going to different districts and seeing what's going on. So that was wonderful. The Blue Ribbon Commission, I think they were just reporting on new directions for the one diploma. And so they've kind of been looking at things. She was saying cell phone use is a big hot topic, but their suggestion is to kind of handle it locally as opposed to a statewide situation or statewide practices. But they are they want people to share their best practices so that, not everybody's reinventing the wheel when it comes to that. And they can share what works and what doesn't work. They are saying everybody is running into staffing shortages. And they're trying to look at the process, how they've increased waivers for retired teachers to come back. And just they're trying to make it not just hard. They still want the right teachers in the right place. They want good teachers in classrooms. But sometimes some of the systems are just hard for no reason. So they're kind of looking at, there's a difference between rigor and just hard. So they are looking at streamlining some of the requirements and increasing the certification waiver. So that's good. And then one of the big hot topics was electric school buses. I think that was the most animated session that I went into, where they had a panel. Some of the big takeaways is that we should, if we haven't had it, we should have a fleet electrification plan survey from NYSERDA, and they'll kind of give guidelines on what we need. The suggestions from most of the presenters was to start small and just, buy a bus or two and kind of get used to it and see how it goes. They had a presenter who has a fleet out of New York City, and they have 200 buses, but they did invest in 25 electric, and he was saying his drivers love it. People love them. They work out better than you think. The big issue, noise, it's if you're on a diesel bus and that starts your day every day, it's think of the mindset that our students are in when they get to school. If it was a quieter bus, that we might see, consequences from that. We might see a positive issues, positive moving forward kind of thing. So, so that was the suggestion, is to start small and to look at the grants. There's like $500 million out there, if any kind of way to try to get any of the grants to help subsidize some of the purchases. And that was, I think, the main takeaways. But it was very informative. It was a wonderful opportunity, so I appreciate the board letting me do that.
Just briefly, some of the sessions that I attended, nurturing the whole student through collaborative supportive systems. And I know that Carol and I both sent our notes to our colleagues, but just so that others can hear the experiences and the sessions that we attended. Nurturing the whole student through a collaborative support system. This was from Schenectady City School District, and they are like a real lead in this area statewide, talking about just holistic development and organizational decision-making across all areas of their schools. And I know that I included a lot of those notes to my colleagues. I also attended engagement using AI. There was a lot of AI, as Carol said, throughout the whole conference, looking at AI within the classroom. Dan Fitzpatrick is this guru in AI education. After our keynote address that he gave, he was heading over to Sweden for like a conference over there. He's like, world renowned. He's out of the UK. It was very fascinating to listen to, and he has authored several books. And I had a chance to speak with him with a very small group of colleagues for about 45 minutes after his presentation. Addressing student behavior on and off campus and kind of the legalities presented by school attorneys on what the school is responsible for and what they're not responsible for. And Carol and I think we both attended that session, and we kind of had to answer scenarios like throughout, and it was good to know that like what Carol and I were answering was basically lock and step as the procedures of what you should be doing as board members and the responsibility of the district. So I felt good that, we felt confident in our answers. Strategies for effective board meetings. One thing that I forgot to grab on my way out tonight on the way to the meeting, but I can bring it to our board retreat in December. One district, I can't remember offhand who, they had a board pamphlet, like it's a little trifold thing that they had out at board meetings, explaining the roles and functions of the board, some initiatives that the board is taking each year. And I really liked that because it's an easy takeaway. And I'm thinking even if people don't attend our public session in this space, we do a lot of presentations and award ceremonies over in the auditorium across the hall. And it might just be a way to further educate, people who attend those pieces of our meeting on what the board does, bless you, and the functions thereof. And then positive board and superintendent relationship, which I feel that our group does a really great job at. There were several criteria that you could self-assess, like where your board was at with their relationship with the superintendent. I felt that, we're definitely strong in our relationship with Dr. Terranova as a group. And then making sure that children are not marginalized. And one big piece that came out of that, it was this very robust panel discussion about implicit bias training as a board. And it got me thinking about those opportunities that maybe our board could look into in the future, and how implicit bias plays into our subconscious decision-making about everything. And it was a kernel that I took back to Rochester with me about how we can explore that maybe as a group. So again, super grateful that we had the opportunity, super grateful to have a colleague to pal around with. It was very fun and extremely informative. I learned a lot. Came home very tired, but excited to share possibilities with all of you.
Okay, thank you, board members, for those updates. Item 9, upcoming events. Our next board meeting, Thursday, December 12th, 2024. We'll talk about snow then, too, as well, right?
And I also have one other thing. I did send an email out regarding the Four County School Boards Association meeting on November 25th, and it's regarding the update on the status of the foundation aid. It's at Club 86 in Geneva. It's a dinner meeting. If you plan on attending, I have to have the information by, I think I told you
Friday.
Monday to give you, so I can get the reservations in by Wednesday. It is a dinner meeting, so if you just do decide to go, I just need to know dinner choice as well, and then that's all in the email.
The speaker happened to be at the, he was one of the speakers at our conference. So he does have a lot of information. The only thing is, like, the new one isn't, like, their report isn't due till December 1st. So it's like, I wish he would do it like the week after, so could interpret.
Okay, anything else for the good of the district? Hearing nothing. Motion to adjourn?
Brian?
Brian, second?
Lisa?
Adam?
Oh, Adam got me.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? We have had a meeting.
Look at that.
Carried.